So I'll move on to the basic needs of life. As I was thinking about husbandry, I'm trying to, there are a number of ways that one could summarize it, but I've tried to think about what is really most essential and what to pay attention to at every stage of development. Feed, of course, needs to be not only nutritious, but also tasty and palatable. Water is a very important thing for poultry production because my understanding is that poultry consume at least twice as much water as they do food. So if water is limiting or warm or dirty, it's not only not desirable, but a potentially a source of disease. So air, obviously we all know every living thing needs air. And I think that air quality is something that can be underestimated. The importance of it can be underestimated, and it's really important to pay attention to good air quality and its flow and low humidity. We'll go through each of these in a little more detail. But space, enough to minimize stress, light, both sunlight, and there are times when it's appropriate to add supplemental light. Temperature, there needs to be a comfortable range for survival, for comfort, but also for productivity. Cleanliness and health are intricately entwined, and managing manure so that it is a resource and not a contaminant is a critical part of the process. Health and safety and quality of life. We'll go through each of these a little more detail. It's important, one of our speakers suggested that one should taste the feed yourself and see how it is, because it's very important that it's fresh, so that we can talk more about scale if we have enough time. But one of the most important things is to buy feed frequently enough that it's fresh, that it has all the nutrition and the good flavor, and try to use it within a few weeks. So the smaller operations would buy feed in sacks, larger in totes, and even larger ones by the truckload, but whatever can be used within a reasonable amount of time. I've learned a lot as the time has gone on from Fifth Crow Farm, and the treadle feeders on the right are there, and it's a piece of equipment that allows the bird to stand on the treadle and open it to access the feed. And the idea is to reduce access to rodents and other creatures and use feed more efficiently. They said that it actually let out a little bit too much feed, and they've had to make some adjustments to the opening. Water. There are many kinds of waterers, and many of our publications, the outdoor publications, describe different types of nipple waterers and the bell waterers. Many different kinds will work as long as they're designed to function well and to keep clean. The photo on both of these photos are of the UC Davis pastured poultry farm. And you can see that there are a little bit different arrangements for airflow based on what kind of day it is. The blue sky day, warmer day, needs greater air circulation. And the one on the right, more foggy and cool, those screens are lowered down to try to keep the housing warm. Everybody's less stressed when you have enough space. So there's space, sun, shade, within the house, outside, on the pasture. Light, with respect to light, that last slide, and talking about sunlight and shade, notice on the left photograph, where do you see most of the chickens? They're under the shade, aren't they? They're under the shade of the house itself, and also of the structure that's designed simply for shade and that provides some sense of shelter and protection from predators as well. light and warmth, of course, is very important to the brooder. And there's also for laying hens, supplementing light to even out the days when day length decreases, the production goes down. We want to keep 14 to 16 hours of daylight or of light of a certain intensity to be able to keep the production going. Appropriate temperature, of course, housing and the environment you can design according to the climate. The one on the right is in Pescadero, a very cool and foggy environment. And of course, if the shade structure on the left allows for the chickens to have shade even when it's bright and sunny in Davis. Cleanliness is critical to preventing diseases and pests. Clean water, in talking with many kinds of livestock producers, clean, warm, dry fed, the clean is really important. We have to figure out from every livestock system needs to figure out how to manage the manure. You can see on the right-hand side, the Pastured, the chicken tractors have been taken through the walnut orchard, and you can tell where they've been and how much manure is left there. And in that instance, I think they left it a little bit too long, such that it might take a little while for the vegetation to recover. So it's really important to think through the movement for the sake of the flock and their health, so they're not sitting in their own poop, but also for the plants and for the soil. Kathy Hillmeyer did some really good work a few years ago, and her publications are available. And she described how phosphorus can build up. And so one of the great advantages of a poultry operation is that it adds fertility to a farm. And if it adds some fertility, that's what we need. And if it adds too much fertility, then the nutrients become contaminants. So moving it around, the more often you move the birds, the less you have to move the manure itself. Preventative health also includes natural behaviors like these dust baths. Ectoparasites are reduced when chickens have the opportunity to dust bathe and reduce problems with lice and mites and things like that. And preventative health, of course, you need to get appropriate vaccinations, and we'll talk a little more about that as we go along. Safety. Having a house where the doors close, the ones on the left are also at Fifth Crow, and they were designing them to have solar automatic door openers and closers so that the chickens would be safe at night from predators in this area. You can see the hills in the background. Lots of different animals live in the hills, and everybody likes chicken. Electric poultry netting is important in some operations, and perimeter fencing also. And talking about predation is one of the major concerns and the primary source of mortality in flocks. So Fiesta Farm is the place on the right, uses livestock guardian dogs, as does many of the operations that we've heard from and had farmer speakers. Quality of life, it may sound kind of squishy, but everybody needs harmonious relationships and a sense of purpose. And by having a good relationship with your livestock, you'll notice things. You'll enjoy them and notice things that need attention.